Well, good morning. It is Thursday, July 21st. I don't know what time it is. Do you know what time
I
it is?
have no clue.
Anyway, it's Thursday, July
It's
21st,
daylight.
and thank you for joining us on an episode of Toilet Talk from Yachats. We're in Yachats, Oregon, at a B&B rental behind Earthworks
Yep, you got
Gallery.
me off screen a little bit. Well, you know that. If I'm
There,
gonna sit on the toilet
this is better.
for all posterior, then we need to have the view. Yes, we are in Huts. It's a beautiful little coastal town in Oregon. And 4 years ago, for our wedding honeymoon, we came here, and not here, not this location. This is a different Airbnb. Oh y'all, it's so nice. It's. I wish we could have parties here and invite everybody. Pan the roof. This is just the master bath. Okay, you need to get an idea of how we are luxuriating.
It's nicely done.
Yes.
It is
Well appointed.
well appointed.
Artistically done.
Yeah, lots of artwork and large and spacious and open and airy and all those things.
Yeah, two bedrooms, a fully appointed kitchen, a full living room, dining room, washer dryer. It's not like I'm making an ad for this place. Owned by an artist who owns the Earthworks Art Gallery, which is located at 2222 Route 101, the Coastal Highway in just north of Yachats. So if y'all are looking for a really incredible and not terribly expensive place to stay, I highly recommend it. Yeah. You got me a little off kilter again here.
Sorry.
That's okay. He's my cameraman, but
It's it's hard to find good cameramen and cabana boys.
It is, and it's the day after his birthday. Yesterday was his 51st birthday, and we celebrated his 50th and his 51st because a year ago, as y'all might remember, the world was under a Delta siege with the pandemic, and we had to cancel his 50th birthday plans. So this year, instead of the big kibosh with all the people in the park, it's just us, just the two of us enjoying some much deserved, long anticipated alone time in this place. We got over feeling a little guilty for not inviting other people over because there's two bedrooms, two bathrooms, two beds. But we got over that. Decided we deserve this time, and in the future we can have more of those all-inclusive thingies. So for now, we're here, and it's funny. I wanted to take advantage of the fact that it's a whole new toilet, whole new surroundings, and we haven't done a toilet talk in a couple weeks.
Several weeks, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. I wanted to take advantage of this, and we were sitting here thinking, so what are we going to talk about? And it's not like there's a lack of things to talk about, but we're relaxing and enjoying. We got here Tuesday evening in time to pretty much fix dinner, and then yesterday we discovered a lovely rhododendron preserve right outside the back door. I mean, right there, and then a trail that leads off onto what is part of the Oregon Coast Trail that goes all the way the length of Oregon. You can go north into Washington, south into California. Um, and Robin has been working his way down the coastline. I joined him for one of the treks, a 42-mile stretch last summer. We're going to do another one as soon as we decide to go do it again. And so it was just felt good. Felt good to be engaging feet on the trail, and you have to be present enough to step over roots and rocks and all kinds of things because nature's bumpy. Nature's pretty bumpy, and and then we ended up on a street that connected back to the highway, and we then went for a run, and Robin took the lead and took us down to the coast where we got to get soggy
Down to the beach. We're at the coast.
Well, we're at the coast. We went to the beach. These are two separate things. Coast is an area. Beach is on the sand where the water, the Pacific, hits the coastline. You know, this is a geographical lesson, right? Yeah. So we got soggy feet walking through there, or running through there, and there's something about getting in nature, and would have been all the more meaningful to take our shoes off and like really in nature to get grounded and all that. But there's something about breathing it in and hearing nothing but the quiet of the forest and the crash of the waves and the the cry of the seagulls and the crows. I don't know why crows hang out on the beach, but they like it. Probably the same reason why seagulls sometimes hang out near dumpsters, not near the coast. Um, don't know the life of birds. But here we are, having this fun. We had a wonderful dinner last night in this quirky little place where the tabletop was live edge and ragged and natural.
It's called the Drift
The
Inn.
Drift in Yachats. And Yachats, for all y'all not in Oregon, if you look at the word, it looks like Yachats, Yachats, but it's pronounced Yachats, loosely after the original Native American tribe that used to live here before we stole their land and made them relocate elsewhere. And there's maybe in one of these toilet talks, I'll share a bit of a story about how my ancestor did such a thing. Yeah, it's another cool story. Anyway, just relaxing. If we sound kind of low key and relaxed, it's because we are. Finally, Robin works his ass off on a day-to-day basis, really hard, running his own business, word of mouth remodeling construction, and he does a fantastic job. He just almost has completed building an underground dome home. That's astounding. I mean, it's a feat of engineering, and he's been the overseer of that many years long project. It's one of the ways in which he expresses art. And so I chose this location because of the location and because it was new and fresh to both of us, no history to it for either of us, and because it had art in it, which is my thing, but also his colors. It's very modern and sleek and earth tones and yeah, a lovely merger of our personalities. And we had the pleasure yesterday of engaging with another couple, very long distance. Our first face-to-face encounter with them. They had seen some of our posts where we talk about relational issues, both of us individually and what we've done together, and of course the now almost infamous toilet talks where we get a little deeper and a little more real and a little more raw because shit gets real when you're in proximity to plumbing fixtures. And they had asked if they could engage with us through Zoom just to talk about relationship issues, things they're facing, and it was amazing. It was wonderful. Robin and I have been trained in all kinds of things. We're both trained as mediators, as shamans, as hypnotherapists. We've done improv theater in the same troupe together. We've had a smattering of training in things like nonviolent communication and other ways of communicating inside a relationship. We've done the Gottman relationship weekend together. What else? We are going to be very soon signing up to be trained as IFS facilitators. IFS stands for Internal Family Systems. It's a way of doing parts work, internal work. Oh, we're self-trained in shadow work through existential kink and other mediums, and I'm trained in theophostic, which is another modality for doing deep work. And have y'all noticed, looking around the world, that there's a lot of hurting people, a lot of hurting groups, a lot of division, and at the root of all of that is unresolved issues, traumas, the stuff we carry around, the imprinting, the things from those first earliest years of life. And none of us can escape that. None of us gets through childhood unscathed. And when we repress all those things, they will find a way. to come out. Whatever is repressed will be expressed, but in an unhealthy, often dysfunctional way. And we can see this clearly in the divisions in the United States, in other nations, England, where you have one group of humans and another group of humans, and they seem diametrically opposed to each other and at odds, in conflict. And then there's this abyss between the two, this seemingly impassable disconnection, and yet we're all humans. So what Robin and I have been talking about lately, feeling this need, this calling, this response, this compassion to want to take what we've learned and also through just our own life experiences as individuals, as a couple, and share that with others. Not like we've arrived, we have all the answers. It's nothing remotely like that. It's more of we've done some work. We came into this relationship imagining, telling ourselves and each other, oh, we've got our shit together, only to discover we had some preliminary shit together, but then the deeper, darker shit came to the surface and hit that fan, and we've had to contend with it individually and together. And we would like to share just some of the things we've learned and have experienced and have worked on with other people, other humans, just to do our part in helping other people discover not, again, we don't have the answers, but I believe we are both capable inherently and through training to help other people see themselves in a different light, to work on those issues that are in the way. Basically to see and be whoever you are, and engage with yourself, engage with those who matter most to you, and then engage with the world around you. The word that is used by the Q'ero people of Peru is Ayni, A-Y-N-I, sacred reciprocity. And so we're going to be, we're answering the call. We're saying yes to our souls, to life, to do this. And then how that looks formally, where and how we hang that shingle, we probably need to develop a website, a way that people can find us. And you don't have to be sitting on a toilet, although it could be an option to have these conversations, whether it's in person locally or Zoom non-locally. So there, putting it out there, saying yes to the universe. We are willing. We're willing to share what we have, what we know, to help spark whatever in you wants to find its way back home to you. Anything you want to add to any of that, sir?
I guess I'm being put on the spot here. So,
you want me to hold it while you talk?
I got it.
Okay.
The transfer of power, is at this point.
Oh, you get to hold the topic.
Well, no, it's just easier at this point for me to
got it.
Take care of it anyway.
Go for it.
So,
sidetrack.
Yes, sidetrack. Dina mentioned, talking with a couple that were wanting to have some conversation about relationship issues. Having listened to our triple,
our 3 hours,
our 3 hours of relationship story on through the other toilet talks, they noticed a lot of similarities and inspirational information in there, and they just wanted to be able to have a conversation with us. And ultimately, a relationship is only talking about relationships isn't really about talking about the relationship. That's actually a tertiary issue. The real conversation is about what each individual brings to the relationship as part of themselves. And so when we talk about relationship work, when we talk about having conversations about what relationship means or what being what being in right relationship means, the first place the conversation has to take a step back to is what kind of work are we doing individually? What are we doing for ourselves? What misconceptions do we have? What misperceptions do we have? So the conversation starts with who am I? What do I want? What do I need? Um, and then transfers to an exploration of what do you want? What do you desire? What do you need? And then how do those two circles of wants, needs, and desires then overlap and interact? It's the nature of a Venn diagram. Um, how two separate or seemingly separate entities can have overlap and interaction and interplay. So, for us, or for me anyway, when we talk about the work that we've done and whether or not we bring this work out to other people, to have conversations, to interact, Dina and I, really what we're trying to say is that we've actually gotten to the point now in our lives where we've done enough work on ourselves that we understand that we don't actually have the answers for ourselves. We know how to start asking the questions, and asking those questions and engaging both with our own personal psyches and emotional bodies, and then also with each other's emotional and psychological and psychic bodies. The answers come to those who ask, and that's really what we're doing, is we're facilitating those questions. We're facilitating the ability to um, remove ourselves from our own perceptions far enough that we can actually get some clarity about what we're doing or not doing, how we interact and influence others, and then what we can do to change our emotional, energetic, psychological bodies so that our lives look more like what we want them to be, as opposed to what they end up being, which oftentimes seems counter counter to what we would ask for. Um, so it's that whole concept of shadow running the game. What's the quote by Carl Jung?
Until
Until the conscious
until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate.
Yes.
Things happen over and over and over to get your attention. A.H. Almas, who is a renowned teacher and author, the teacher of Gabor Mate and many others, has this wonderful quote, and I'm gonna totally botch. This is paraphrased. I'm gonna botch it, but basically he says that there's a part of you, your soul, your capital S soul, capital S self, that loves you so much that it will do whatever it takes to bring those things that are repressed, festering, hurting you to the surface where you can see them and deal with them. And what else can it do? It loves you that much. And so what it looks like at times is the universe is teasing us. Here's this. No, we're going to take it away. Do your work. Or it looks like I have this idea in my head of who and how I am, and then I discover, oh my God, I have this other part. And oh, I don't want to see it. I'm going to shove it down. But the soul says, no. Look at the shadow. Bring it home. We have this ego part of us that wants only the positive, only the shiny, only the pretty. And our soul says, you came for the whole thing, the yin and the yang, the agony, the ecstasy, the comedy, the tragedy, the high, the low, the good, the bad, all of it. You came for the whole thing. So our soul says, I want you to get to know the shadow. And it seems like, what is it, Carl Jung also says, the first half of life is to develop a strong, healthy ego. That sense of persona, the mask, the part you engage the world with. And then the second half of life is where you get to engage the shadow. You get to look at the parts that you might not be proud of the parts that might feel shameful, the parts that you don't want to parade around. But when we bring all of that in, we become more whole, we become more empowered, we become more truly us. And then the shadow doesn't have to do all of this acting out in the dark, sideways, trying to get our attention. When we bring it in and we love it and we accept it, and then we find the gold. Jung speaks about the golden shadow as well as the dark shadow, the gift that's hidden in the shadow. We get to claim that, we get to bring it in, and we discover what feels like superpowers. And then we don't have to hide who we are from anybody else. We get to show up. So what's exciting to me, having a partnership with a man who's not afraid of doing his own work. I mean, talk about exciting, talk about intimate. When he does his work and he finds something about himself he didn't know before, or maybe he was afraid of knowing before, and he engages with it, and then, like, adult show and tell, he can bring it to me and say, I want to show you this part of me. And there's the risk. There's the real risk. What if I flinch? What if I run? What if I say, oh, I can't handle that? But instead, what happens to me is I get to see this aspect of this man I love, and I get to love that part too. I get to find the gift in that too. And he gets bigger in my eyes. He becomes more authentic. And it's a way of exposing not just the naked body, not just the naked heart, but the naked shadow, which is the part of the soul that's, I don't know how to describe it exactly, except that we have body parts that we don't necessarily parade around. I don't walk out in the street with my breasts and genitals bared for the public. There's those.
Well, not without some consequences anyway.
Not without some consequences, yes. Yes. Those are parts I reserve. Um, the part that includes my sexuality, etc. There's no shame there for me as much as it's sacred. So I share it. I share it with Robin. And so too, it feels to me like the shadow has those parts that may at first glance be shameful, but they're actually sacred. So we get to share those things with each other, and it's really intimate. It's really exciting. And then when you get to the point where you realize, oh my God, there's so much of it. It's vast. It's like 95% of who I am is the shadow. Endless places to explore. Inner space. I mean, outer space has nothing compared to inner space, or maybe it's a reflection. Maybe it's the same thing. Frontiers to where no man has gone before, or woman, and we get to find those places. So when people say, "Yeah, I know my partner really well, and it's boring," it's like you haven't opened up that part yet, then, because there are all these different aspects to explore. Yesterday, talking with this couple, it was kind of funny because Robin said that there's all these parts, and then she gets to love all these parts. And we were talking about distinctions between monogamy and polyamory, um, and even how the word is a misnomer because it's part Greek and part Latin, and it should be multi-amory or polyeros, but regardless. It's been a point of contention between us because those don't necessarily merge well. But Robin has chosen a monogamous relationship with me, and then he revealed to me that actually what happened is I become polyamorous because I love all his parts. It was one of those little profound aha, gotcha moments, and we all four of us laughed at that. We get to be both and. We get to be both monogamous and polyamorous with each other. Kind of fun, kind of fun.
As I've done shadow work, and as many other people that I've had in my circle have expressed what it's like for them to get in touch with themselves, and in particular, yesterday this was a conversation that kind of revolved around one of our new friends working with the IFS system, so the internal family system, and the key component of IFS is that we all have parts, schisms, which have broken off from our from emotional and mental and psychological development at some point in our past, typically at a traumatic at the crux of a traumatic event. So it becomes in many ways like an isolated piece of personality.
It's frozen
that's
in time.
frozen in time at the age that, so you might have like a 7-year-old that has a lot of your old 7-year-old attributes and frustrations and psychological and emotional issues and feelings stuck, that it basically kind of in some ways you can almost look at it as multiple personality disorder, but not quite. Anyway,
it's not a disorder.
It's not a disorder, but it's a function of what happens when our trauma is frozen
what
in
our
time.
brains do.
So we literally kind of have multiple personalities which can influence our conscious day-to-day decisions through kind of backroad and backwater channels. And so when Dina was talking about being polyamorous, to do your shadow work, to facilitate somebody else's shadow work, to love somebody, to be in relationship with somebody, there is an aspect of us which, to be in healthy relationship with ourselves and others, has to have the ability to appreciate and love multiple different aspects or personalities or pieces or parts, and do justice to that love by really truly appreciating the individualistic and unique components of each one of those personalities or situations or people in our lives. And this applies to friendship or internal work or external work or many different relationships or one monogamous relationship. So as Dina was referring to polyamory, that's what it was specifically talking about, the IFS system stuff and things. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out. And one thing I would like to say is, so I'm going to put myself over here with Dina like this, so we can photobomb the photo. I'm not quite sure where we're photobombing, but we are going to be going out on an extended walk here. It's probably going to be a 7 or 8 hour walk. And I'll be bringing my phone with me, and my guess is that we will end up having a series of conversations, which we might decide to record. And bring into another.
In the woods.
We could bring him into kind of like with the toilet talk on the road sort of thing, but not toilets. Because that would be kind of weird.
Or a rock.
Anyway.
Rock talk.
Rock talk.
Why are we this close to me? Oh, what you were just talking about, the parts that clued me into something else. And we're gonna be much more adept at talking about IFS as soon as we get ourselves trained, and that's next, because when something feels alive, you get the green light, you kind of go for it. But along with the parts that got frozen in time, the childlike parts, often what can happen is we get protector parts and manager parts. And it occurs to me, in our past, we had impasses where we were in such conflict during the years that we were married and living together, those 2 years, starting 4 years ago, ending 2 years ago, before our breakup, before our second breakup. We would have conflict in which we would just get stuck. And it's awful when you love this person and you're like trying to find the person, and there's all this like barbed wiry stuff in between you and this other person.
Wait a minute, so let me get this straight.
Yeah.
We had impasses.
Yes.
That were created by our impasses.
Ooh.
Which.
We love wordplay.
Which had.
Impossible and impassable.
Impossible and impassable, but also because they were imposters.
This man makes me swoon. The wordplay, the metaphor play, yeah. Metaphor play. Yeah, exactly. That was happening to us as a way of life, and no experts could help us. A couple of coaches, a couple of therapists, we exhausted them, we wore them out. They were so frustrated with us, and we had to end up eventually splitting up. But what occurs to me is often then when a couple is having conflict and they can't seem to get out of it, what I'm guessing is happening, what I'm guessing we're going to learn in training, is that it's a case of we've got my wounded one and his wounded one. So we initially get hijacked by these terrified, hurting children. And then the protectors come on and they protect those parts from each other. So we're like, Robin and I are no longer communicating with each other. It's our screaming, hurting children being protected by these protector parts, and our protector parts are adversarial toward each other because suddenly these two people who love each other have become threats to each other because of those unresolved issues. And the exciting thing to me is that with IFS, what I already know is possible is we can reparent those inner children by getting permission from the protectors. And then after the protectors are sure that we are now going to love and nurture this hurting inner child, to reparent them. And I'm assuming as a couple, we can also help to reparent each other's internal children.
It's apparent that we can reparent.
Yeah, it's apparent that we can reparent. Love it. See, it's endless. Then we can give those protector parts another job to do that's more in line with who we are innately, capital S self, a creative thing. I'm wondering how much creativity is locked up in these protector parts rather than being able to do the things that we know we're here to do. You know, those times where you look at someone doing a thing and you're like, I should be doing that.
Well, each protector part, each part, I think is
Self.
Is self, but they're all pieces that are
the roles.
Well, actually, what I was going to say was they're all pieces that are ultimately, stuck in victim mode.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
So if all of these pieces and parts and protectors are stuck in victim mode, then when we're in a victim mode, when we feel powerless to something, it's often because we haven't reclaimed our power around an issue where we felt powerless. So if we can help each of our pieces, each of our parts, each of these personalities to discover their power, because they probably already know their power, and that's how they're utilizing. That's how they're actually manipulating our reality, is they're utilizing their power. But if we can bring them on board to be able to utilize their power for the sake of the entire system, as opposed to just wielding the power to prevent specific pain or triggers to come up, then I think what we end up doing is having a dialogue with ourselves, with our parts, with each other's parts, which is ultimately empowering and integrating rather than disempowering or maintaining that victim.
And disintegration, we go from disintegration
and disintegration. So, these parts, because they are disintegrated, are still feeling powerless. So they haven't been brought home. They haven't been integrated. So
we're not working as a collective whole. So there's competition between parts for attention, for like any neglected child. A child hates to be ignored. If a part stuck at a child level is feeling ignored, it's going to act out to get attention. And this is a form of shadow work, in that we're taking these parts that are repressed and feeling fragmented and alone, and we're going to meet them, and we're listening to them, and we're accepting them, and we're loving them, and we're bringing them home. And when they're at home, they don't need to act out anymore. A child who feels loved and embraced doesn't need to act out to get attention. It might do something adorable. It might do a little dance for you or recite something. But it feels like it's part of the family, and it's secure.
Well, it's just like building a family or building a team.
Every part needs to know it matters and it's important to
Every
love.
part needs to know it matters, that it's important, that it's loved, that it is honored and valued for its contribution, because
Yeah.
that's what a team is. It's a group of individuals, all that have strong points, because no one person can do everything in a team. You need others. Otherwise, the endeavor to compete or to achieve the goal of the team or of the family falls on its face. So, what we're talking about is essentially teamwork exercises,
Yeah.
internal teamwork exercises, internal
Right.
family exercises.
And
So,
we're doing what Jung said. We're taking the unconscious and bringing it into the consciousness, looking at it, seeing it, engaging with it instead of shoving it into farther into the dark. And then it's not going to be ruling our life from the dark, and we're not going to call it fate. Why do I keep having these same patterns in relationship? Why do I have these same patterns in career? Why do I have these same patterns in parenting or with friendships or anything? When something happens over and over and over, this is your soul in cahoots with life, trying to get your attention, trying to say, please listen, please listen. A friend of mine, actually a mentor of mine, hi Ruby, if you're watching, many years ago once said to me that if you're walking along and a leaf falls on your head, you might not pay attention. If a twig, you walk by that tree again, and a twig falls on your head, oh, okay. And it would be worth your while paying attention, because what's next is a limb falls on you. You don't want to wait until the whole damn tree falls on you to get your attention.
well, you don't want to, but trust me, that's what's going to happen.
It's inevitable. There's something about us, our egos, and that aspect of us is kind of stubborn to various degrees, and we will resist our own healing. We will resist those protector parts. Will try to keep status quo because they don't trust us and capital S self to do what's necessary for these hurting parts. So that it's all these parts can either work against us or with us for us. And it comes down to us making the decision. I want to know me. I want to know all these parts of me. I want to bring everything home. I want to integrate. I'm willing to look at the things that have made me flinch before and love them. And it's pretty cool because when you do enough of this, you start looking at everybody else and realizing, oh, that behavior they just did? All right. Initially, it will irk you and you will realize, ooh, that's my shadow. The thing I don't like about them is what I don't like about me, and I'm refusing to look at. And then once we do look at it and embrace it, then we can look at shadow evidence in another person and not feel as irritated. We can have more compassion because we've developed compassion for ourselves, and we're realizing that's just another person that has the same issue or issues, and we can love them where they are.
Well, I'm gonna put a pause to this at the moment because I'm getting hungry, and I think it's time for us to actually start getting ready for a walk. So this is probably not one of our best toilet talks, but there's some interesting content in here, and we'll be back with more probably from the beach.
Yeah.
So might be interesting. The toilet talk from the sandy beach. I hope you have a good day, and hopefully you got something out of this one.
See you later.